and forgot. So your international dues, paying your international dues, what's the benefit to that? Well, so your international dues is nothing but a savings account for you, because when you retire, you get every cent of your payment back. But on top of that, if you don't pay your dues, what are the besides being harassed by us to pay your dues, what are one of the benefits that you would lose that most people are unaware of? I know people receive an email or a letter in the mail about your death benefits, right? We all think we will live forever. Death is something we don't put on the front of our mind, but your dues, your international dues, correspond with that benefit for accidental death that you have, right? I was made aware of recently that if you're at the time of death or accidental death, an accidental death could be you're driving down the street and you get a car accident, right? All of us think of our accidental death might be an electrocution on the side, but it could be an accident, whatever accident that might be. Your loved ones, and another thing you need to let your loved ones know about these insurances that you have. If your dues are paid, you can come to the local hall and we can process your death benefits with a letter of your demise, per se. And your benefactor will get a check, right? If you don't have your dues paid and that happens, you don't get the money, right? So I don't know if you guys shopped around for any funeral arrangements in the last 10 years. I've had to do it because I got an elderly parent. There ain't nothing out there less than $6,000, right? And that's for a cremation. You can get a cremation for $3,000. But you want a casket, anything of that nature, right? You're looking at serious money. So this one benefit helps you in that aspect. At the time of anyone's demise or passing, the one thing you don't have to want to worry about is who you need to borrow money from or where to get money from. So do yourself and do your loved ones a favor and keep that in mind. Make sure you have that covered, right? We all one day will pass away. Please don't not think about it and plan accordingly. So remember that your dues come back to you. And remember that your death benefit is tied to your dues, your national dues. All right. So keep that up. Keep that up to date. Chris Beckford, our current new president, made a statement that I liked. That he says every year, beginning of the year, he gives himself a Christmas gift and he pays his dues in full. I like that idea. I'm going to implement that myself, because at sometimes I'm a culprit just like any one of you in not having my dues paid up currently, right? So Herbert asks, how much do you get? You get 100% of your dues back when you're retired, right? So La Rosa keeps on raising the hand. Is there a problem with his computer?
Yeah, I think he's on the phone or something. It keeps on coming up.
Okay. No problem. All right. I gave you guys an hour of me talking about the past and the future of the IBW. And if you have the question lingering in the back of your mind, what can you do or what is your part in all of this? And I would say the beginning part of all of this for you right now is just be an active member. Show up to our union meetings, you know, and that way you will learn any activities that we have going on. Right? We're in the process of doing activities to build our brotherhood, make it stronger. There was a comment left in the questionnaire that, you know, in the past we felt separated from the local union, but that should not be the same anymore. We have an open hand. We are welcoming. Right? Come be a part of the solution. Come be a part of the progress. Show up to a local union meeting. Put it on your calendar. Right? Put a reminder on it. We have all these things that we didn't have in the past. Right? That you have to remind you of local union night. Right? Let it be a part of your thing. Female or male, we all are social human beings. We need a community to be successful. Right? And you never know who in your community can lay out that hand for you and pick you up. Okay, and as I said before, my career, you know, where I am today in my life was because my brotherhood members and sisterhood members have laid out hands and picked me up. So come get picked up. Come get lifted. Right? We're all about that. You know, you want my job, come get it. I'll help you get it. Okay? Because as you grow higher, I grow higher. As you get better, I get better. As we grow together, we get better together. We can't live a life of scarcity. That's absolutely, you know, most people live a life of scarcity, thinking that you can't have what I have because I'm in the position that I am in. No, that's not true. You can have what I have. Because if you come get it, I got to move out. I got to move out. If I'm not doing good, I got to move back. If I'm doing good, I'm going to move up. So come get my job if you want my job. Right? This world is not a world of scarcity. And every entrepreneur who has made it knows that. You don't have to wait for somebody to get out your way for you to have what you want. Okay? So, I think we've touched on that. Oh, the only other thing that I wanted to bring up, so that the Brotherhood Night, as it was the first annual Brotherhood Night, I'm sorry they didn't call it Brotherhood and not inclusiveness enough. We had food. We buy the food, you buy the drinks, and we had a good time. We played some pool. Maybe we'll do some dominoes next time. Something of that nature. Was held by, we had it at the Dave and Buster's in the Dolphin Mall, right? Just think of it to yourself. How cool would it be to have 500 brothers and sisters inside of that facility, rocking Ibew 349, right? There were giveaways, some shirts and some hats and stuff like that. You know, so put it on your calendar, November, upcoming Brotherhood Night. It's not at the hall. We'll
set calendar for cancel.
All right. If you're not please
Okay,
mute
cancel.
yourself. Otis.
Okay, cancel. Okay, cancel.
All right. So you're invited. Hope to see you there. We'll share a drink. We'll have a good time. All right. So to get some credit, we got to talk some code. So let's get into a little bit of code. All right. All right. Everybody seen my screen? Brian and Nubia?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Revisions, connections, and grounding systems. Section 200.3 was revised and properly clarity and usability. The word utility has been deleted from the section as it was redundant and implied by definitions of premise wiring. Term direct electrical connection provides a clear distinction from the connection through electromagnetic induction. Okay. Electromagnetic induction. What is a device that we use that's that? Right?
We have a question. They want to know if we are using 2000 or 2023.
So
code.
I'm still in the 2000 code. The 2023 has not been adopted. It won't be adopted until the end of next year, December 31st next year. So I don't like mixing codes, although it's coming, because then you're installing something that is maybe above and beyond the code that you have now, and then get yourself in trouble in that aspect. So this is the last presentation of this code cycle that we're going to do. The next code cycle we're going to do will be the next code. So before we start, here we go off into a little tangent again. I just came back from Las Vegas. We had an NFPA conference in Las Vegas, which was pretty impressive. Now, as far as Vegas is concerned, you know what, I can live without it.
Stop that.
But the conference was pretty cool. There was about 8,000 people who attended the conference. And there were about, I would say, 200 classes offered. All different type of classes, anything that the NFPA has as far as their standards are concerned.
Stop it.
There were a lot of sprinkler classes, water sprinkler classes,
Stop it.
fire classes, fire suppression classes.
Stop that.
You know, electrical is just one component of the National Fire
Stop
Association.
it.
Right?
Don't do it.
So, and
Hey,
they have the
stop
board
that.
of these 200 classes, and basically
Stop
they give you
it.
a time zone, and you just simply go into the class, and they have an app, and you download the app, and you sit in the class, and the material that they're teaching in the class. It's pretty cool
Stop it.
experience. But what is even cooler is to see what's
Stop
coming.
that.
And I,
Good.
as a inspector
Stop it.
or as a chief inspector, I learned a few things that was potent to my what I do and how I interpret things. So these are great things to have. As I said, I didn't do much outside of that. It was a lot of walking, 13,000 steps a day for the conference itself. And
Stop it.
I've never been to Vegas before, and so saying that the establishment is huge is an understatement. But as I said, it was a good experience in learning. I had to renew my NFPA membership, so I was unable to vote for any changes in the code, and that was pretty cool as well, that I can vote on some changes for the code and not vote up and down. But next year I would be able to vote. But saying that, so I know you guys have heard that the code is changing. And I got, in this last class, I was able to see the setup or the way the code is going to be rearranged. Let's say that it's going to be rearranged. It's not changing, but rearranged. So, in essence, you're going to have you're going to have this chapters, but the chapters are going to be containing. You're not going to have to search around the code that much for different items. So everything with electronics are going to be in one chapter. Everything with motors are going to be in another chapter. Everything with any water bodies are going to be in one chapter, right? 1 to 3 will pretty much stay aligned and the same, but everything else after that will be changed. They're going to get rid of Chapter 8, communications. Chapter 8 is going to fall into, just low voltage by itself. And all the requirements of Chapter 3 will be required for what is now known as Chapter 8, right? As you know, a lot of the lighting situations that we have out there now is going to LEDs and low voltage and DC wiring, and that's going to be something that's going to happen more and more. So this is exactly why these continuing education classes are important, because it's about to have a big change how we do things, as far as especially those of you that do commercial build outs per se, right? The industry hasn't, I think Miami is a little slow compared to a lot of different areas in incorporating new technology into these existing things. But once it flips, it's going to flip quickly. You're going to start having DC lighting systems in these build outs and stuff like that. So it's best to be prepared for when it comes and you understand what's going on, right? So I'm hoping to see. I made a suggestion in the class that we were discussing. I was able to talk to the NFPA electrical secretary for the code when I was there, and I made a suggestion. So I'm interested to see if he took my suggestion and got it. I got some cloud in the code writing. So we'll see. I won't tell you what it is because I won't have you guys mess me up. Put your bad juju on me. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. I'm just gonna see if he took my suggestion and ran with it, and then we'll go from there. Is everybody having a good time? I need to know what the reaction out there is. You guys enjoying the class so far? All right. Thank you for lying to me. I appreciate you guys so much. What do you think, Brian?
I think they all love it.
I love these guys. All right, so here's a good one for you. Something that, and I didn't make this presentation. I should have made it, but so we got a class. There was a class given on authority having jurisdiction and what that means in the code. So I want you to think to yourself for a minute. Who do you think is the authority having jurisdiction? Right? For a second. Is it the building department? Who's an authority having jurisdiction? And this is interesting to think of it this way, as it's not something normally you would think of, because you've been drilled in for so long that the authority having jurisdiction is the building department or the department. Brian, do you think that is the authority having jurisdiction?
My understanding and the way I've always believed it is the building official is the authority having jurisdiction.
Right. Well, in essence, that is the truth. So how the state sets up a body of, or a governmental constructive body of organization would say that the building official is the appropriate person with authority, right? And in how the state also sets it up is that it says that the building official can then have dependents that he provides them with the authority for their specific trade or whatever. So not in Miami-Dade County and Broward County. So you understand those two counties are truly special in Florida, as they have trade specific chiefs, right? In the rest of Florida, they don't have a trade specific chief, which means that you can be a person with a general contractor's license and be the electrical chief as well if you're a building official or a plumbing chief, right? You don't specifically need to have training in that particular environment that you're a chief over. And a lot of small towns and counties and so forth function that way, right? Because whether they have qualified people or they don't have qualified people, you know, that they have 25,000 people in a town or a county or whatever the case may be, there's just not enough money in this county to have the resources to provide a, you know, specific trade item chief in that area. Now, my building official, we have a chief for each division. We have a chief for electrical, myself. We have a chief for plumbing and mechanical, a chief for structural, and a chief for building. All right? And those are the trade chiefs.
Elevators.
Now that's true. There's an elevator chief, and there's I didn't want to go off the tangent. We have a Durham environmental chief, right? And basically you're just organizing the trades that you're on top of. And so he defers his interpretations to the chiefs, and he has an overall say that if he wants to take that interpretation or not take that interpretation. For the most part, they take the interpretation of the chief so they can limit their liability, because they're truly the only person liable, right, when it comes down to faulty buildings and stuff of that nature that may fall on the inspector, not the contractor. But going back to the question I asked earlier, so the code says the authority having jurisdiction, but let's broaden that horizon, right? The authority having jurisdiction may be an owner of a chemical site, a nuclear site, a car building manufacturer. Those owners will have an authority having jurisdiction. A utility may be an authority having jurisdiction, right? The governor may be an authority having jurisdiction, which our governor is hot and loose with his authority having jurisdiction. So there's multiple layers of authority having jurisdiction, right? And then you ask yourself, so I never thought of an owner of an industry being an authority having jurisdiction. But let's look at it this way. Let's say I make bombs, right? I don't know any particular manufacturer, the name of these bomb making companies. Well, you need very high clearances to get into these properties. Are they going to let anybody on a property with any malcontent to get on that property and just maybe take photos or see where the special sauce is made, right? But saying that, as an authority having jurisdiction, what they don't get to do is not enforce the code. So although you may be a manufacturer or something of this nature, they have to establish, if if they're not going to allow the building department on, some type of responsible inspection that follows the code requirements. In the United States, all requirements are valid through the code, through OSHA, right? And OSHA is a governmental body that if you violate the code and somebody, an employee or a person gets injured due to it, you violated the standard and now you're culpable and liable for however the court deems you liable for, right? So it's not only the authority having jurisdiction that has the responsibility, but also the owner, or who calls themselves the owner of any industrial or business act, right? So as an owner of a business, you're responsible for every employee under your care, right? So I just had a question on Thursday come to me, and from an engineer for an electrical contractor, and he asks that he has a problem. He says, I have an 800 unit apartment building that we just built and we're in the process of turning it over, but I am experiencing a nuisance breaker tripping for the refrigerator and the AFCI, GFCI breaker we've installed for protection. Would you be willing to give an exception to the code to allow the refrigerator circuit to be GFI protected and not AFCI protected? As we have brought a tested manufacturer in, and they have identified the problem as being the frequency drive on the energy system of the refrigerator that marks its hertz at 50 hertz and not 60 hertz. Right? So, what is your opinion on that, ladies and gentlemen? What you guys think? You guys been around enough.
I think if this engineer has enough pull, that it really doesn't matter what you answer, it's going to get it done. However, that really falls to the manufacturer's indifference to how the code is being shaped. And on top of that, how's it going to be affected if we no longer have OSHA?
Well, so that's so let's tackle that first. So, wow. So everything has consequences that we do and that we don't do, right? We're here complaining sometimes, some of us, all of us complain about money. Everybody wants more money. But you may want more money, but has anybody thought of the repercussions of getting rid of some these government agencies? OSHA for one. The second one that it's gonna devastate people. it's gonna devastate people is the FEMA.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people really realize what FEMA does and how much FEMA plays a role in your everyday life. So you may think that FEMA only comes and rescues you in a storm and you don't have anything to worry because you're built pretty well. But FEMA not only does that, but FEMA has everything to do with a lot of standards that implement your insurance. So if there's no FEMA that has a standard in which a community like myself, a builder, or authority having jurisdiction lives up to the FEMA standards, then your flood insurance is going to go up and your wind insurance is going to go up on your properties, right? Because now you can build any which way you want to build. Okay. OSHA is the same thing. So OSHA regulates, simply in your job site. Safety on job site is one of the aspects that OSHA regulates. But OSHA also is in charge of the UL standards writing organization. They're the overseer of that standards, right? They're the body that holds the documentation requirements for those standards. So you get rid of OSHA, then who holds the documentation? Who writes the standards, right? Is technology not going to move forward? Okay. So let that sink in a little bit, and let me answer the question. So we had a couple answers. Follow the code. Doesn't the refrigerator need to go through a UL listing process testing? J. Rose asks. Isn't it already acceptable for refrigerator? All right, these are absolutely the right questions, right? So I would say that 10% of my job, let's say 5% is not that much, but 5% of my job is actually educating people to the things that you guys know, right? Educating people who may not understand what a listing is, what certification is, and approval is for a component. So I'll give you my answer first that I sent to the contractor. I said, so listen, I do not have the authority, or there's actually no one that has the authority to not enforce the code. What I have the authority to do is to interpret the code and find another means of compliance, right? The code says this, all right? Can I find an equal means of compliance to that code that protects from electrical shocks, the fires, so forth and so on, right? The code did give an exception to the requirements of AFCI for a fire alarm system. And the exception stated was that if you have a fire alarm system and it's functioning incorrectly, you may remove the AFCI protection from it and run the fire alarm hardwired system in conduit or a metal clad type wiring system, MC cable, AC cable, so forth and so on. All right? And so then the next step is, why does it allow you to do it that way for that type of system? And it's simply an AFCI device triggers when it senses an arcing situation, a fault, a magnetic shock. And most of those arcing situations in the sleeve, when you skin the sleeve of a conductor, that's when it occurs. And most of those things occur by using a non-metal type installation wiring system. I can say NM cable, Romex for short, or a Smurf-like installation that you can drive a screw through it or a nail through it. So that's why AFCI protection are for residential and not for commercial. right? Because they have realized over the years these two wiring systems have this fault problem by, you know, your honey-do list, you go hang a mirror on the wall or a picture on the wall or whatever the case may be. That Romex or that Smurf is not going to protect the conductor in its sleeve from a harder object penetrating the sleeve. But a conduit or a metal-based wiring system may. Right? So that's an exception that can be implemented or looked at in a lightful way, that if you have a refrigerator that has a 50 hertz frequency, run it in conduit, and then you get an exception that you don't need AFCI protection for that one circuit. You still need GFI protection if it's within 6 feet of a water source, right? So these are the allowances that I'm, or a person in my responsibility are allowed to make. Right? Now, the second answer to that question was the same thing as well as you answered earlier. Do you have the right device? Do you have the right refrigerator? So although OSHA states that all devices and appliances and equipment shall be listed, approved, or labeled in the United States, that doesn't mean we can't import devices that are not listed, labeled, or approved in the United States. And this is the problem that lies. We have millions of things that you can buy on the internet, sold in our distribution stores or box stores, that are not approved to be used in the United States. Now, you can buy it and you can ship it to whatever country you wish, but when it comes down to being used here, it's not. And it's the responsibility of the owners to know that. Now, what I informed the contractor was, that's what you need to go back and tell your owner. Say, listen, I've installed it per plans, which is per code, and your device, your refrigerator, and the device is anything that you can plug in, is not up to standard with the code. So you can pay me to rewire it in conduit, or you can buy 900 new refrigerators. But you don't get an exception on the code. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? I see some hands raised. Somebody want to say something? Nobody? No. Right, so that's, now, this particular electrical contractor, he is always fishing for a code exception, but I think he was able to understand that just because your component, because it's not a worldwide or countrywide problem. There's a lot of refrigerators working on this type of system, right? Not everybody's coming to me and telling me every refrigerator is not working. Nothing works this way. It's just this particular brand and this particular model. So you got a problem with the model. You don't have a problem with the code. It's the model that's providing the problem for you. So we'll see where that ends up. And as Brian says, with enough juice, it may end up back on my counter for a different understanding or reasoning. But when I do make hard decisions like this, I usually try to blunt the response and educate the people above me, so they when they have the heat come down on them, they can feather whether it's important enough to ask me for an exception. All right.
Matt, you wanna think about giving the boys and girls a break?
Of course. Of course. I mean, I'm getting started now. The blood is going. I'm finally awake.
Roll,
We
I
see
know.
it.
What's that?
preach on.
Preach on. Yeah, right. Rather be golfing. I need a sign that says rather be golfing. All right, guys. 10-minute break. 10-minute break.
Hey, what's up?
Wow.
Yeah.
The auto care said that the rim is not good.
What do you mean?
Maybe the rim is damaged. The tire is okay, but the rim has something wrong.
How do they know that?
We need a new one. They just check it.
Is it leaking? They saw a leak from the rim?
It's the rim. That's a problem.
Okay, well, we'll have to take it to Cadillac, or I'll have to get another rim online.
Yeah. That's what he said. You just come up here to the break room and say you need to get a new rim.
All right, well, so I guess they saw a leak in the rim, right? All right, well, then I'll have to find another rim.
Okay.
They don't sell the rims there. You won't be able to buy the rim there.
No, I asked them. They don't sell the rim.
How's your orientation going?
I'm just getting some snacks. Then I have to go back. Okay.
Okay.
Love you. I just want to let you know about that. And that's it, okay? I have to go back.
I love you. Going good?
Bye-bye. Oh, yeah? Huh?
Okay, awesome.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you, bye-bye.